Getting into the advisory, cash flow experts warning Australian small businesses that they'll need new strategies to access working capital with the federal government's changes to superannuation guarantee contributions. CEO of OptiPay, Angus Sedgwick, joining me now. Angus, what's your advice here?
Good morning, Juliet. Thank you very much for having me. Yes, look, as of 1st of July 2025, businesses will be required to pay their superannuation guarantee levy to all of their employees at the same time that they pay the employee's wage or salary. So currently, as you'd be aware, that a business has up to 3 months to 90 days after the payroll to make payment of superannuation. That rule is changing, as I said, from the 1st of July 2025, where it must be paid immediately. So that's going to have a massive impact on businesses' cash flow. Now, business owners, CFOs, etc., have three quarters. They've got 9 months from here to get themselves organised, plan that into their budget, and be prepared for when that kicks in from the 1st of July 2025.
Just to clarify, I think it's 1st of July 2026. Is that right, Angus, when the changes come in?
No, I believe it's 25, is it not?
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll just move on to how it impacts in terms of some of the companies paying this and how it might actually affect their overall bottom line if they've had that longer term in terms of trying to, when they can pay super. Is this going to impact some small businesses who may have cash flow problems?
Absolutely it will, because many small businesses do rely on not paying both the ATO and their superannuation, and sit on that money for a long period of time. And unfortunately, we see many businesses that go into insolvency, Juliet, go into insolvency with a big ATO tax debt and big unpaid superannuation, which is effectively the same as stealing from your employees by not paying their superannuation. And also has the knock-on effect, obviously, to the employer of not getting it, and the loss of earnings that they get or don't get from having that superannuation in their super fund, whoever that may be with. So yes, it's going to affect many businesses that are currently relying on that extra cash that they get each month or each cycle by not paying the ATO and their superannuation. So they need to put a plan in place now, as I said, to address that, particularly from 2 point of views. More frequent outflows. So they've got to understand that instead of quarterly or 4 times a year payments, they've got to pay 12 months of superannuation, and the immediate impact that's going to have on their balance sheet, cash at bank.
Now, there is a little bit of leeway for businesses to get up to date with this. I've spoken to quite a lot of people in the advisory world about their thoughts, and some have said potentially it's good for businesses to start paying within these rules now so that they can get on top of it. What would your sort of advice be? Because it is essentially employees' biggest, I guess, asset, superannuation, and if they're not getting the compound interest, then they're the ones losing out.
That's exactly right, Juliet. So yeah, if they can afford to do it, and when I say if they can afford to do it, if they're running a business in their business cash flow and budget, they will have factored in superannuation. Well, I hope they have, if they're a decent business owner. So they should be factoring that into their cash flow, and therefore they should be able to afford it. If their cash flow, when they put their budget together, shows that by paying wages and everything else and superannuation, they're running their business at a loss, then obviously something else within the business factors have got to get jingled. So either that's increase in revenue, increase in GP margin, whatever it might be. But yeah, if they can move to that now, I would highly recommend doing it, and get into that process of doing it but before it kicks in, because the ATO will be, and we're already seeing on ATO tax debt, they will be very aggressive in chasing businesses that don't pay both their ATO tax debt and their superannuation levies.
And what are those sort of, I guess, fines or crackdowns? Because I understand something like $3.5 billion worth of super has been unpaid by businesses.
Yeah, and directors need to understand that if a business goes into liquidation owing unpaid superannuation, that's a personal liability of the directors. The ATO and the liquidator can come after the directors in their personal capacity for that unpaid superannuation. So as a business director, you want to be ensuring that the CFO, and if you're a particular, and that is the same with non-executive director as well. So if you're in that role and you're not really across the business, you're not sure whether your superannuation is getting paid to the employees of that business that you're a director of, I'd be investigating it immediately and finding out, are we paying it? And if not, how much is owed and what's our plan to pay it? Because there are significant penalties, personal and corporate, for non-payment.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing at OptiPay and potentially in a sense of inquiry since the changes were announced back in May, and I guess how businesses might be looking at alternate financing if this is going to be a problem for them in terms of cash flow.
Yeah, so OptiPay, my business, we're a provider of cash flow funding solutions for all Australian businesses in the form of invoice finance. And what that does, and this is particularly relevant around what we're talking about, Julia, because what invoice finance does, it allows a business to make its sale to its business customers on B2B transactions, deliver an invoice that says pay me in 30, 60 or 90 days, which is the standard credit terms. I mean, standard credit terms are 30 days end of month for most businesses, which means they're getting paid on an average of 48 days after they sell the goods to their or services to their buyer. Invoice finance releases up to 90% of that cash now so they can use it in their business. So by implementing an invoice financing facility with an OptiPay or another provider such as us, then that will certainly help alleviate the cash flow constraints that many businesses face due to the receivables. Many businesses, the biggest asset they have on their balance sheet is the receivables, being money that's owed to them for goods they've sold. And they can access that and monetize that upfront. So that can help them pay their superannuation as they fall due.